Welcome to another episode of All in Recruitment by Manatal, where we explore best practices, learnings, and trends with leaders in the recruitment space. If you've liked our content so far, please subscribe to our channels on YouTube and Spotify, and stay tuned for our weekly episodes. My name is Lydia, and with us today is Dr. Loo Leap Han, Group Head of Talent Management at Biomed Global. Good afternoon, Dr. Loo, and thank you for joining us on this podcast.
It's a pleasure to be here, Lydia.
So, Dr. Loo, you've spent about 2 decades now in the HR industry with your experiences, I believe, in manufacturing, infrastructure, construction, and healthcare. You also hold a PhD in strategic HRM. Interesting. So walk us through some of the key moments in your journey as a HR leader.
I started my HR career way back in 1999, right after my graduations. So I spent almost the first decade in manufacturing setup. During that period of time, I'm exposed to HR operations and transaction of works. Exposed to the HR technical, the practices, the policy. And on my second decade of career, I'm involved very much into the construction infrastructure and healthcare, where I'm experienced a lot of HR strategic and leadership role. For example, like policy making, HR transformation of works, talent developments, organizational designs, and building organization culture. So throughout that 20 years of HR journey, I can see the evolution of HR tremendously changed. Of course, way back, we are moving from personal administrations now to people and culture management, and involve a lot of HR digital tools to move away from transaction of works and then towards value creation of works. And we also very much into skill-based competency, where we upskilling and reskilling our talents. And now we are so bombarded with these work-life integrations, employee well-being, mental health. These are people agenda which we are championing in this 2022 and 23 and onwards. Of course, not to mention the diversity, equity, and inclusions. And we have a multi-diverse generational differences of workforce. And not to mention, people analytics. When I was way back 1990, people analytics is not something very new, something new to HR practitioner, but now it's a must skill that all of us need to have these fundamental people analytics in order for us to make a very strategic human capital decision making. And last but not least, how we see HR can supplement and support the ESG, which is, we call it environmental sustainability and governance, and what we do matters.
What are some key observations that you've made about recruitment in this Southeast Asian region, please?
All right, we can analyze, and we also experience the new trend of recruitment, where we have a large population of talents, and they are connected through social networks. For example, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. And I can see the trends, we are very focused on soft skill. We focus very much into creativity, empathy, communication skills, as well as emotional intelligence. Of course, the hard skill is a subject matter expert that is a pre-requirement. However, we can see the criteria for selection in recruitment. We are focusing very much more into soft skill for now. And we can see a new trend where we have that kind called blind hiring. We remove all the identification details from resume and applications, and this allowed the hiring teams to evaluate the candidate based solely on the applicant's skills and experience, not by who is this person, that individual looks like. And of course, we talk about HR technology, recruitment, can really speed up all the processes, especially to know how long it takes to fill a position, which we call application tracking system. And of course, now with all these, the great vaccinations, the quiet quitting, the war for retentions, the great reshuffle, all these new terms coming on board, and that really reform how talent acquisitions strategies, and how we need to revamp and reinvent our way to recruit. Of course, we can see a lot of talents are so eager for interesting jobs and career opportunities. And of course, they're very particular into the work environments, the company culture, the values they carry. Of course, they want to work with the organization with a purpose. And I can see even in Biomed Global, we are looking into a different kind of employment. We very focus more into gig or contingency or even a project-based employment approach. These are some of the trends I can share. Yeah.
Okay. And Biomed Global is in the health tech space, isn't it? Right?
Yes.
And the healthcare industry in particular has been expanding, has seen expanding demand for qualified, specialized talent.
Yes.
And healthcare is obviously booming. So what are some trends you foresee in health tech recruitment over the next year?
So in health tech, we have two core groups. One will be focused very much into the life sciences or clinical, which we have application, technical groups, and those scientists as well, the medical officers. The other groups, another group will be called the digital team, right? So we're looking at this, how we combine these two groups working together, to bring forward the health tech, industry. Now, what I can foresee is that we have high demand, but very low supply in terms of our talent gaps. In terms of our talents, especially we need someone with artificial intelligence background, those machine learning skill sets as well, cloud software. Yeah, very limited, very scarce in the market. However, this is the biggest challenge most talent acquisitions are facing in terms of the healthcare tech. Next will be on this contract-based staffing. Yeah, this approach enables us to have better opportunity to select from a larger pool of candidates, and also the roles require specific skill sets are quickly filled with contract-based recruitment in healthcare companies. So some we have project-based. In terms of how do we revitalize our technology, it may take 1 or 2 years. So instead of looking for a permanent FTE talents, we may look at on the contingency or even contract-based recruitment, and they have the mobility options to move as they grow. Yeah, and of course, the next will be the offering a lucrative salaries and perks. So these are some of the trends I can foresee the next coming years when you talk about the recruitment in health tech.
So what skills should a recruiter in this industry, health tech, what skills should they have in order to be ready for these trends?
Yeah, of course, first and foremost, technology. The ability to use technology to outreach these talents. We are no longer depending on traditional way. We must use a lot of platforms to outreach to a larger, not to at local, as well at the international level. And then secondly, this individual has to be very good in the communication skills, because while you need to have a very good negotiations, very good persuasive skills, you have to attract and to bring in talents on board. Of course, analytical skills is a requirement in order for us to do a lot of kind of assessments, talent assessments to match the skill sets and competency. Marketing skills, even though we are from HR practitioner, we also need to be able to market our company, even the job itself. Yeah. So it's so much about how we can present the information more people approach, so that people will have better clarity, better expectation for this particular role. And last but not least, attention to details. We must, the HR practitioner or even the talent acquisition have to be very, very attentive in terms of what we want, what is in for the candidate as well for the organizations. So these are some of the skills which I think is vital to have and to be ready. Yeah.
So as you said, many companies, including Biomed and every company pretty much into a tech-driven sort of business operation today. And, looking at the pandemic and where we've come so far, many businesses have been pushed into becoming sort of tech businesses themselves. So what would you say are the biggest challenges facing tech recruitment, and how might HR leaders tackle them?
Like I mentioned earlier, Lydia, labor or talents in this area of industry, the shortage, is something that it will not end at this short period of time. And what we need to do, of course, our recruitment planning must be done now. It's not so much about what next, but now, to ensure that there are enough people to fill this position well into the future. And our recruitment strategy should be geared towards the needs and habits, of this new wave of job seeker. We must understand the talent needs instead of the wants. So next challenge will be the targeting passive candidates. Leaders, must learn, to identify where these passive candidates are and how we can tap into their networks. And they are looking out, but they are not desperate to look out. But it's so much how we keep them warm and how we're able to ensure that the networks continues as the time rights. Yeah, there's an opportunity. I think that will really help in terms of to bring this talent on board after knowing how we work, our culture, and etc. And of course, improving the candidate experience. We need to really improve our system by streamlining all the tasks, such as candidate engagement and contacts, the recruitment process management, the recruitment marketing, and more. And this, this is our easy way, to go about it, is to tap into the expertise of recruitment services provider and to understand the job market and hiring trends. So this is what I meant by another having a right digital tools that can bring a better candidate experience that will really benefits, that can really speed up our recruitment drive.
And we're seeing plenty of disruptive forces, so to speak, hybrid work, as you mentioned, the gig workforce, contingency workers, and then we're looking also at a heated war for talent. So what are your observations of this so far in the 4 countries that you oversee in terms of operations and strategy?
So I will just share Biomed Global experience as well some of my counterparts, HR peers. I think flexible work hours, it's a must, it's a trend, and we find everyone are enjoying these flexible working arrangements or hours where we give a lot of trust and empowerment to them to manage their work effectively. And then we also involve a lot of collaborative online working tools to ensure that we are connected and we're able to have meetings using like Teams, Zooms, etc. So to ensure that we have the right facilities to support this work method. And of course now my challenge or my focus for next year will be on the flexi benefits, how we monetize our benefits based on employee needs and preference instead of like one basket, we fit everything in. So we realize some may not be enjoying certain benefits. So what we do is we monetize by values and you decide what you think best for yourself. And Biomed Global, we are undergoing a HR, the digital transformations. And of course, talent management is also part of the department involved in terms of how we streamline our HR processes. And we spend a lot of, investment into employee well-being. This will give a good ambience, in terms of work-life, work-life integration, and so forth. So of course, in our industry, healthcare, we champion social purpose because what we do matters. So we have a lot of activities in terms of corporate social responsibility campaigns, working together with the public and private sector, public and private healthcare sector. Of course, not to mention upskilling our talents, regardless they are hybrid, gig and etc. We need to upskill in order for us to be very competitive in the market. So last but not least, we talk about robots and human in the workplace, right? So it is something a new evolutions of how we hybrid the way we work. Of course, with system and humans, we believe efficiency, we can achieve a better efficiency and productivity.
You mentioned earlier about looking at a skills-first hiring strategy, right? Looking at exactly what sort of competencies people have, blind hiring, etc. And very often, hiring takes place for skill first, right? And the conversations about culture, whether it's a fit, adaptability, or enrichment, or culture add for that matter, sometimes it's not so easy to determine that at the get-go. So how might recruiters or even hiring managers be able to communicate that culture effectively, especially for those candidates or even new hires for that matter?
I would strongly suggest we have to do it prior to day one. Talking culture, our company culture, in an interview, about our culture and what it means to work, at the company, how we set clear expectation from the very start. And this will help the recruiter to hire the talent for culture as much as skills. So we did that in our interview. We will display our corporate video. We will show our office design. We will share our purpose. We want them to have a feel, wow, this is the company that I want to work. Wow, this is how the people work at Biomed Global, for example. And that will really give a higher confidence level for us to engage and, probably to close the hiring deals. And then second, I will talk about simplicity. We do not use bombastic words to share our communication contents with our people. So we also need to make it easy to understand, and we make it simple enough for someone to tell their friends or mates what you do and why you do it in Biomed Global. So simplicity is one of the approach in the way how we communicate culture in the workplace. And of course, last but not least, we use a lot of multiple platforms like webs, apps, prints, or even video, or TikTok's video, all that, to have all in place in getting our message, our culture, organizational culture message across more effectively.
And we're also seeing a multi-generational workforce now, with more and more Gen Z candidates coming in. So what is your perspective, or even some tips for the audience on how to facilitate this multi-generational workforce in terms of building a strong and cohesive culture?
In Biomed Global, we recognize talents. I believe everyone enjoys recognitions, especially the younger generation, the Gen Z and the millennium. And we also look for opportunities where we can share, to someone, hey, your inputs, in this report is amazing. Just a very simple statement. Oh, you work really hard, on the sales pitch, and it shows, excellent presentations. So these are some of the very simple dialogue that we can use in order to recognize someone's contributions and or effort, they put in the moment at the right time, and of course, that will really, I believe, that really build a very good, positive working culture in terms of we respect each other ideas, opinions, or even contribution in the workplace. And then the next about I can share is about the autonomy. Always look for what flexibility we can offer for our employees that can really will help them. For example, like, do they really need time off to take their kids to daycare or before coming to work, or do they love being in the office because it gives them a break from the family and they are naturally old, So the office design facility, we try to accommodate the well-being concept, right? And with that, of course, we can portray a very healthy culture and how we can incorporate this autonomy principle into our workplace culture at Biomed Global. And last but not least, also coaching. So coaching is something every leader should be prepared to do, to be both to the team as well to the individual. They can support. And this coaching really ties in well to a workplace culture that really promotes continuous learning, and then helping their team members and the company to stay fresh, while also helping to create a very inclusive and multi-generational workplace culture, and as well to promote or collaborate, a good inclusive behavior. So I think with that, we can really build this culture organically, and with that, I believe we will have a very conducive and healthy workplace culture. This is what I believe.
And that culture contributes to how long someone wants to stay in an organization, right? It's directly, there's Definitely. A direct correlation right there. But do you have any other ways in which there's a dedicated approach towards talent retention, for instance?
Of course, yes. Besides workplace culture, we also look at total reward system. It is something, a must. I believe it's a must, but it's a matter of how we make them more attractive and more personalized. I'm quite privileged because my headcount is not huge, so we can do a lot of personalized benefits to different level or different group or different categories. And here we always champion our 7 brand values, yeah, and we really walk the talk. So we empower our talents to make decisions, and that gives them the opportunity to be the best version of themselves in organizations. And like I mentioned earlier, we give a lot of recognitions. We even have car scheme gifts, for those loyal employees with us for many years, and then the company car, after they completed the service, so we just reward them as a gift, the company car gift as a gift. So there are many ways we can do retention per se, but of course we also look at the cost factor, the affordability, as well how effective this talent retention strategy can last. So it's about sustainability. So yeah, these are some of the most prominent kind of retention strategy that we are working with now. And of course, by end of the day, there is no perfect retention strategy. There's no perfect strategies, so we work along as it goes.
So let's talk about where we're headed to into the new year, into the rest of the decade. We're in an economic pinch right now, and we've seen mass layoffs in very large companies. So how should professionals approach employer branding in a time when companies are downsizing?
That's a very good question, yeah. While employer branding may not seem like a high priority to some, because we talk about downsizing, right sizing, we talk about job security. So some may not look at employer branding at that moment as a high priority, but we shouldn't neglect that, because why? So this, at that time, this is exactly the moment where organizations must really take care to respect, protect, and even elevate their reputations, to the internal and external stakeholders. So whether you need to hire quickly, or you need to face a reductions in workforce, or anything in between, you must really upholding your values and your promises in a very transparent and honest way. So this is a way I would say the best approach to have to manage the company brand as well our reputations. So you may need to rethink how the product or services you provide are truly important to the greater community for healthcare, especially Biomed Global. We are dealing with healthcare, so we stress on our purpose or what we do matters. So being relevant and adapting to the new circumstances, so are the key to our brand power as well to the overall reputation of our organizations. And last but not least, be transparent about your business situations, what's going on. Do share important contacts with the employees. So adopting a really frank and clear communication plans really will help the workforce. They are being informed, and we assure that they are being well taken care of, right? May not be to the 100%, but at least to some extent. So when employees are in the dark, so your organization is subject to disruptions for sure, and which can really tarnish your employer brands and employee brand. Yeah, so clarity is important. And of course, last but not least, we also look into the possibility to retain our talents, to reskilling them, change their job profile, or across projects, to support the organization, the business. So these are some of the thoughts that I can share with.
You spoke earlier about the importance of applicant tracking systems and HR technology, and you yourself said that Biomed Global is undergoing a digital transformation, and HR is not excluded from that. So what would you say has been the impact of recruitment tools like an ATS, like Manatal, on talent strategies that you may be working on?
I've seen Manatal software application very, very useful, right? And they have a lot of features. It can support local as well international recruitment and hiring. Now, what's impact? Of course, we can talk about how we can be efficient. So these recruitment tools can really automate and really streamline all our administrative recruiter tasks and free our time, to have very meaningful conversation with prospective candidates. I realized my team are too focused on the process, tracking the process, but we neglect the engagement part with the candidates. So with this system, with these tools, really help us to streamline all these non-value added process. And of course, be able to do a lot of automated screening of profiles. And then we also can do interview scheduling for candidates. Query, any queries, we can alert and communicate, with the candidates. Of course, with that, we can really save so much time, and we can spend a lot of our attention to more value created recruitment to our candidates. And of course, with that system itself, it also represent a very strong company branding, because we realize talents or candidates are very cautious, and they are very look into how advanced this company they're planning to work with. And with a very strong recruitment tools, that we can really champion a lot of, for example, social media recruitment campaigns. And of course, we can have a lot of those diverse, inclusive, bias-free practices. I know when we do our recruitment with the help of recruitment, those digital recruitment tools. Of course, we can have a better candidate experience, like I mentioned earlier. With all the technology features, we can communicate virtually, or even artificial or even automated scripts, in order for us to have more real-time conversation with the candidate if they have any inquiries. So definitely, with the digital recruitment tools, it can solve, I will say, if not 70 or 80% of our administrative recruitment tasks.
You've had 2 whole decades of looking at the evolution of HR, right up to the point where you've seen so many HR technologies out there, including in ATS. So, Dr. Loo, what advice would you give someone who's starting out today in recruitment as a freshie?
Well, that's for my personal view, my personal advice. Have the courage to speak up. Have the courage to speak up in terms of, if do what is right, when it's right and for the right reason. I think it's otherwise, because we are sharing services, we are the sharing service departments, and of course we want to ensure that every open position are filled at the soonest possible time. If we are struggling, have the courage to speak up. Share our challenges with the management or the hiring manager, right? Of course, be humble, ask if you do not know and share what you know, right? And we talk about recruitment are so borderless, so many trends in the market, so learn as much as you can. And I also stress very upon to be accurate in your people analytic and decision making. So always validate. When you do recruitment, hiring, ensure you validate all the assessments, all the evaluations between the hiring manager and the potential candidates. And of course, be resilient, do your best and be the best in what you do. Take up professional course, professional certification in recruitment or hiring or personality assessment, anything that really helps you to bring up your professionalism as a talent acquisition subject matter experts.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Loo, for your wonderful insights and your time today. I'm sure the audience would like to know where they can connect with you. Maybe they want to take a conversation further. So where can they connect with you?
You can direct message me through my LinkedIn. If not, through my personal email, michael.loo, L-O-O, @biomed-global.com. And if you need any help, please do engage with me. I will do my best to support the HR community.
And we have been in conversation with Dr. Loo Leap Han, Group Head of Talent Management at Biomed Global. If you like our content so far, please subscribe to our channels to stay tuned for more weekly episodes from All in Recruitment. Thank you.